A few days ago, I had one of my best online chess wins when I played against international master Leonardo Duarte from Argentina. Now, this is round 7 of Title Tuesday, and he was an international master rated 2400 pretty much, so I thought that this would be a very difficult game for me because, well, my rating is of 2100. But I had the white pieces, and I was playing very well that day, and the game ended up finishing in only 24 moves. And I am so happy with this game that I had to make a video and show it to you. So this is how I beat an international master in 24 moves. Okay, I even put it with big letters because I'm so happy. But let's go ahead and get started. So I started with the move d4, which I always play. I mean, if you watch me, you'll know that d4 is my favorite move in the world. My opponent went knight f6, c4, c5, and now after I push my pawn and he plays the move b5, this is a Benko Gambit. Now, I have one of my favorite openings against the Benko Gambit, which is called the Nescafe Frappe attack. And this is not a made-up name. This is actually an opening that my dad taught me when I was a lot younger. And it was first when I started playing chess online that I put in the moves and it said Nescafe Frappe attack. And I was like, there's no way that this is actually called that. But it is, and it's amazing, and I love it. And I typically only play this in Blitz. I don't really play this when I'm competing at chess in over-the-board tournaments, because it's actually objectively maybe not so good for white, but it's very poisonous. So it goes like this. I captured the pawn on b5. And now he went a6. And the idea of the Benko is basically that black is giving up a pawn very early on, but a lot of times, both of these files will be open for the black pieces, which means that black will get a lot of very active pieces and put a lot of pressure against A and B. And also black typically gets their pieces out pretty quickly. So I obviously could capture here, win a pawn, but instead I went for this move, knight c3. And in the Nescafe Frappe attack, you actually end up completely not trying to regain the pawn. So I went e4 here, and he played the move b4, which is very logical. He's threatening my knight, and the idea is that I play knight b5, and now he cannot take this pawn, because if he takes it, he can fall for a little whoopsie, which is knight d6 checkmate. And this is actually how I beat once at 2100 in over the board chess. It was amazing. But anyway, so knight b5, he played d6, and now I actually kind of made a mistake. I went bishop c4, which I kind of didn't understand why I played it, because I know that the main theory is just to get out this knight and just simply control this square and then choose where to go with this bishop. But I ended up going bishop c4. He developed his knight, and now I went for the move knight f3, kind of saying, okay, you know what? I've made a mistake, but, it's going to be almost the same. So here, I mean, there are some instances where he can capture this pawn, and I go queen e2, and he tries to defend, etc. But all of these lines typically become very poisonous, and most players actually choose to not take this pawn, because this is very much just... It becomes difficult for black to play, and white will get a lot of activity. So I really do not mind him taking this pawn. And most people, like I said, they never really take this pawn. So I thought he might go something like knight b6 and threaten my bishop, but instead he played the move g6. And here, I didn't really know what to do because, well, I hadn't played theory, but I knew that in a lot of lines in this opening, which, by the way, let me know in the comments down below if you want me to do a video about it, because I absolutely love this opening. But I know that you can play this move e5 with the idea of sacrificing a pawn, but after black takes it, you go d6 and sacrifice another pawn pretty much. I mean, it's completely insane, but the idea becomes, I can just show it very quickly. The idea becomes that in positions like this, you can actually, after something like e takes d6, there's ideas of going knight g5 and putting a lot of pressure here. And even after something like takes, and takes, I am a pawn down, but black has a lot of really weak pawns. I have a lot of activity, and this is actually not as clear as it may be with a pawn down. So it's actually very exciting chess, and I love these kind of positions. So I was just thinking, okay, let me try out something like this. So after g6, I ended up playing e5, threatening the knight, and I was fully expecting him to capture this pawn, but he played this move knight b6, threatening my bishop. Now, when he played this, I quickly realized that Okay, yes, he's threatening my bishop. I absolutely do not really want to move my bishop anywhere because then this pawn is going to get very weak. I don't really know where to go. If this, he might even push his pawn and threaten my bishop. So I thought, okay, I must take this knight and then I must place my queen on e2 and try to put pressure against this pawn. This is what I very quickly realized. So I realized that after I take this knight and he takes my bishop, I can play queen e2, threatening this knight, forcing this knight to go somewhere, and it cannot really go to a lot of places. I mean, it can basically only go to b6 or a5. And now I'm going to have my queen in the same file as the king. This pawn is going to be pinned. And, well, one, my pawn on f6 will be super good at controlling black's pieces. But two, I'm going to have the opportunity of really threatening to capture on d6. So I played in this position, bishop f4, threatening to go knight takes d6. And in this position... Leonardo only has one move he can do, which doesn't lose the game. And that move is bishop a6. Bishop a6, the idea is that now he's stopping me from going knight takes d6 because then he can capture this knight with the queen, as if I recapture it, he can take my queen. So he's basically stopping that. And I mean, I don't really have a lot of time to take this because by going here, he's also pinning my knight. So here, maybe I would go something like a4, defending, and then probably if something like knight takes pawn, I would just simply go something like bishop takes d6, and now if he takes here, I take it with check, and it would be something like this, but it would actually be relatively equal. But after bishop f4, Leonardo made a really big mistake. And by the way, if he doesn't go bishop a6, the second best move he has is to go king d7. So this is the kind of threat that we're talking about. This is a really big threat. But he missed this. And here, he went knight takes d5. And I obviously didn't know when he played this move that I was completely winning, but I was just thinking, wait a second, what? Like, if I go knight takes d6, this looks completely winning. So obviously, you know, I had to like play well all the way through, but now I'm capturing this pawn with check. The queen cannot take because I take it back, so the king has to move up. And here I had to figure out what the best choice of events was, because I was calculating, okay, what happens if knight takes f7? This looks really good, but then maybe he can take here. And okay, I mean, I wasn't exactly sure, but then I realized that I can actually really nicely win the queen in just a few moves and be in a completely winning position. So I spent a little bit of time calculating here, and then I found the winning combination. Queen b5 check. I actually spent like a minute here. If he goes king c7, he places himself in the same diagonal as my bishop, and I have knight f7 check, winning the queen without really losing any other material. So king e6 was what he played. I went knight g5 check, forcing the king. Only legal move is for him to take on f6. And now, having this move, bishop e5 check. He must take either my bishop or my knight. He cannot do any other move. All other moves are illegal. He must take here and here. And after he takes one of these two pieces, I will go knight takes f7, and I will fully on win the queen. So I will not just win the queen, but the idea is that after he recaptures my knight, I will go knight f7 check and also win the rook, which is what I had calculated when I went queen b5 check. So this was now just completely winning. And at this point, I was getting very excited because I realized, you know, wait a second, I'm beating an international master. So he went out with his bishop. I went queen c6 check. You know, the other rook fell as well. It was a complete disaster. And after he blocked the check, I took his rook. He did this little move h6, but after I castled, he resigned. And this is how I won in 24 moves against an international master. And to be honest, I must say that I absolutely loved this opening. My opponent just made a few tactical mistakes, but I was really proud that I was able to find this whole line all the way from queen b5 check to finding this bishop e5, just completely forcing the win. So I'm super happy with this game. I was very excited and I really wanted to show it to you. So I hope that you enjoyed this game, and let me know in the comments down below if you want a little crash course on this opening, because let me tell you, I really think you're going to beat a lot of people with this. And I also think that you might checkmate a lot of people in 9 moves with this opening. So let me know in the comments down below if you want to see that. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in my next one.